What I want to talk about here is the Martingale system. The bets. What's the best bet to use? The zero. How does the zero become part of this? What can we do about it? These are all the different possible combinations that you can use when you do bet, depending on how far down you go. Also, we have a little software program that I quite like that actually we can use the Martingale system and see what actually happens when you do use it, and try some different alternatives to see what different results we're going to get from that. And also I have a different little system you can use which gives better results than the Martingale system, depending how you play it, with a lot less risk. You only risk around 30 odd chips rather than having to get up to the extreme amounts that we do see with the system. So the first thing we need to look at, I would think, would be how does it work? Okay, if we just look normally, you have red and black numbers coming out with all your results, and then of course you'll have the zero popping in there, and that makes a difference because when the zero comes in, you do not get paid out for the Martingale system. Now, the simple recap is whenever you place a bet on red or black and you lose, you put some more money on the next one, and more on the next one, more on the next one. So what actually happens is you get to a point, as we look over here, if you're going to use, and lots of people use different amounts of money, if you use 5 and 10 and 20, you can see how it mounts up. And you're only making a 5 chip win each time, but you can get way up here to $600, which, it's a bit of a hell of a risk. Depending on how you start, there's different. I've heard different stories where you wait so many times, and what happens when that happens, and then other things where you don't have these. You start with 1 chip, 2 chips, and 20 cents, and 30. All those different things that you can try and use. But the basics are this. I'm going to have a look at this with 5. If you look at these big purple areas, that's the start of the black or the red. Your very first decision is it going to be black or is it going to be red? Now down the bottom here, if I go 5 times down, 5 different bets, you have 32 different outcomes. So you can start off here and go, alright, I'll go black, 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 black. And that will end you out here in this outcome number 1. If you look up here, that's what you would bet on. Black, 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 black. Okay? If you wanted to get to outcome number 2, you'd start on black, then you'd bet on black, 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 then red. That's where you'd get to there. It's the only way you can get there. And once again up here, it shows you black, 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 red. So these are all the different possible combinations that can happen with 2 different colors, or even if you went odd and even, 2 different outcomes, and you do it 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is what can happen. Like I say, there are 32 different outcomes. This is not including the zero. The zero is not in here at all. But as we can see here, with just 243 spins, the zero came up twice in that. So you don't know whereabouts it's going to come up. Zero can come up anywhere at all when you start betting. So if this is the last line down here before we get to the end, zero could quite easily pop up and destroy everything, unless every time you're doing your bets you put in a chip to allow for the zero. That's something you'll have to think about. Okay, so as I said there's 32 different combinations. So my first thought was, well, first of all, let's get something out of the way. The big loss is going to come. There is no doubt about it. The big loss is going to come at some point. Don't try and get around it. It's just going to happen. We need to figure out what you're going to do when it happens. Because if you're playing this way where you're making 5 chips each time, well, by the time you get to 32, they only need to have 1 loss and you've wiped all that out. If you're playing with $1 chips each time, or 20 cents, or whatever it is, it's still going to work out that after 32 or so turns, the casino only needs 1 win to wipe you totally out. Now, if you play with the same thing, so for example, here where this 20 is, if I play with this outcome number 20, which is red, black, 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 red, 2 blacks, then 2 reds, at some point in time that's going to come up. So if you continuously play with that same one, that same pattern, at some point the loss is going to come. I mean, when I first look at this, I think, well, there are 32 outcomes. Why not try different ones each time so that the big loss, when it comes, it's got to get you on that same time that you're playing. Or you might be someone who waits a couple of turns and then starts playing. But I quite like the idea of looking at the 32 different results and trying to find a way where you can think what normally happens when you play. Number 16, for example, when that comes out, how often does it come out twice in a row? Does it go somewhere else? Or number 20 for that matter, when the last number out of any of these 32 outcomes, when that happens, how often does it happen twice? Or does it go away to something else all the time? This is something you can use there to find out. Anyway, let's have a wee look over here. Now, with all my research that I do with roulette and sites I go and systems I learn and see, there's not that many that I actually quite like, but this software I actually really do like it because it's not a system, but it tests out your own systems. So that's pretty cool. So what we can do here is I've got here system number 1, which I'm putting down as the Martingale, and I'm starting off with 1 chip. So down here I put the 1 chip on it, and then I come to and I set my next thing that's going to happen is the 2 chips, and then it'll be 4, 8, 16. And that's as far as I go. I'm just going to do 5. I'm only going to do 5. Other people do a lot more, but it's the same principle. I'm just doing 5, and you got to, so in the end, if I do all my 5 bets, that is 32 chips that I'm risking, and each time I'm only making, if you have a look here, the one extra chip each time. So if I lose any time in 32 lots of doing this, then they've just taken their money back that I've won. So we need to figure out what can we do to make ourselves a bit more safer. Or is this just a load of shit? Is this just a bad one and just don't do it, stay away? Because you do know one thing. At some point the big loss is going to come, but maybe if you jumped in and did a few small ones, that might be great. So first thing we do is we're going to get 37 numbers just to see what happens in 37 spins. We generate the 37 numbers. This is all set to go. This little button here means that whenever you get a win, it'll start all over again. If I push this one here, then it will just go all the way to the end. So now what we do is we simulate that strategy, and it's told us here that after we start off 1,000 and we ended up with 983. So here's your wee graph here, and it shows you're going along and boom, big bloody loss, and then a few little ones you're winning. Okay, you can have a look over here, and this will show you of what you've played, what numbers come up in those 37 spins. So you can just have a look there. There's the 0. See 0 come up, and obviously you're going to lose on that one. We really don't want that 0 to come up at the end. Here's your red and blacks. You can see 14 came up and then 22 come up, so there's a big difference in that. Now if you look at something you want to look at is that whenever you have two things the same, they are going to on average come out roughly the same amount of time. And you can see this when you put large amounts. If I go to here and change that up to, say, I don't know, 2,500 spins, then the more spins you have, the closer you will get to things coming out how they should. So red and black should come out the same amount of time or very close to it the more times you play, because there's two outcomes. And it's just like the first, second and third dozen. They should all come out, as you can see down here, 48 and 48. That's pretty similar to what you would expect, right? Two different outcomes, they get roughly the same. And you can see the same here, the 118, 48 to 49. So you're going to get that. That's just going to happen the more games you play. The 3 dozens, you've got 3 different dozens, or 3 of them, means that they're all going to get somewhere around 33%. Same thing over here. So that happens on large amounts of game. Well, you see here we lost the game. We're way down to 878. So large amounts of games, you're going to get closer to the real outcome, and which means also that big loss is going to come. There's nothing you can do about it. Well, maybe it is. We're going to go back to 37 spins here, generate some things, but this time we can change it a little bit. So we're still doing that same thing, which hasn't really worked out too well. So what we could do is say, well, we're betting on black. Why don't we wait till the red down here, red comes out, say 3 times, and then we start betting. So what I'll do is I'll push the simulate button. We're only doing 37 spins, and we got a win there. This shows you in the graph how it all happened. And we did get a win of 6 chips, but this is only one game. Now this is going back to what I was saying before, that now since I'm only doing 37 spins, see how you got in these 3 different areas, you've got 43 times they come up, 27%, 29%, they're all different. The more times you play, the closer you'll get to all them being equal. But we're not playing, and down here, 51, 48, it's pretty much the same. We've got 32, 27, there's an out of it one, that's quite high. Anyway, that's just something to know. 0 didn't come out then, so it wasn't an issue. Anyway, so we find out there we did alright. So we'll go away, and this time we'll have a look. But instead of 37, we'll make it 370. See what sort of, generate some more spins, and see what happens this time. You'd need to do this a few times, so we've still got a bit of a win there, 43. So that made a difference in what we were doing. Okay, but the more times we do this, generate some more spins, at some point in time you're going to get those things that go past. See, we did alright there, we had a drop, but then we come back. The more times we played, we made a profit of 35 there, but at some point in time you are going to get that large event that happens that wrecks this. But yeah, we're also up again here on this one, so that's good. Remember, you can change these. I'll tell you another little tip actually. If we got rid of waiting for the reds before we bet, if you look over in this row here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 reds. So why not come down to here where it says the 3 to 36 was just a bit below, you can't quite see him. And we put into there, we're going to wait till that's been out twice. Get rid of that. So now we'll wait 2 times before it actually starts the sequence. So if it's been here and there's some reds, you've got more chance because you've got more blacks in here than you have in this piece here. So we'll try that out. See, there's something else you can try again. 370, generate some more numbers, flicker away. You can just keep trying. Oh, we made a profit then. We're up 40, so that's cool. This is how you first get into the strategy builder. This is the very start, and all down here is a lot of things on how to do everything, so that's fine. But what I want to do here, because it's really good to work out things, is I want to have a look at what happens with 3 numbers. So what I can do is I can leave 3 numbers out, so for example these 3 numbers here. So I would, I don't actually have to do that. I could just do a generate 100 spins and simulate and have a look at your results. So if I go up here to show numbers, then we can have a look at the numbers. We can pick any 3 numbers that we want. So I'm looking down here and it's come out 3 times, 3 times and 1, so that's 7 times it's come out. And you can have a look and see how often these numbers come out. But what I want to do is see how often do 3 numbers come out, because I've got an idea of what I want to do. I want to test out this strategy. Now, rather than play the Martingale system as we see here, which I still want to do a bit more research on this, you're risking all that money, and you could, if you did this one over here, for argument's sake, where after 5 turns you're wrong, or the big bad wolf comes and gets you, you've lost 80 chips plus all the rest. So there's 100, 200 bucks you've lost, and you're only making 5 at a time. So I really think that for that 5 or whatever you're making, you need to make it and put it onto something, so that would make, so you might be following the 0, continuously put the money on the 0, so when you get a win, you have 1 or 2 chips on the 0. You need to do something like that to counteract that big loss. Now what I've actually got at the end of, I'll just have a look at the end of this video, I've got a little, what do you call it, a link where you can go and have a look at this if you're interested in getting this. It's saying $29, 29 US dollars. It's brilliant. And what I'm going to do is go to, where was I? Over here. This page here, there will be a link to that as well if you haven't seen it. And this will take you to my blog, and this, in there it's got 6 different systems and 9 different recouping systems. You bookmark this page, and this can be your base for learning a lot of stuff. And then in here it has all these little wee different articles on different things. Now just down here I'm going to put the Martingale system down there, and I'm going to do more research and make a couple of videos tonight. I'm not going to go out tonight, I'm going to stay here and make this for you. So all you've got to do at the end of the video, if you don't want to get the software, just click on that link, or bring it to here, bookmark this, and you've got this, and anything new that I do, you will get the results for absolutely nothing. Now inside here, as you're in there, I'll just click on, you see the systems there which you'll go to straight away. I'll click on this one, which is the recouping ones. Now each of these have their own little things, and I wanted to show you this one here, this 30 chip recouper one. We'll bring him up, because this here I think is a lot better to try than the Martingale system, because you risk 30 chips and you make 6 when you win, but you only ever risk 30. So every time you win 6, and if you lose your 30, you only got to play 5 more times to get that back. So I think as a strategy it's a lot better and a lot less riskier than playing the Martingale and losing all that money, and you've only made a little bit. So whatever you were going to do with that money that you made here, you could actually get it from this one over here. So go and have a look, just get the old video, click on the video, it'll explain to you all about that. Plus there's a lot more other videos there. Okay, so you go and have a look at that, or you could go back, let me have a look, and look at one of these other ones. So these are all recouping, which is basically what your Martingale system is. It's just making a little bit of money. Or you can go into the systems and you can look at all the systems here. Click the top link, it'll take you to the system. So you've got a massive lot of stuff here to look at that I've done, and it's past my crapper-meter, which means I like all this stuff. It's something that you can use. So once again you click on that and it will take you. Now on some of these at some point you're going to see a sign up to my newsletter. I really strongly suggest that you do that, because what I also have, I'll just bring it up here. This one you're going to see now is my own personal one, but I've got another one online. This is my analyzer, and you put your numbers in here, and it does all sorts of bits and pieces. Helps you track all numbers, and there's a whole lot of stuff involved in that. If you get on the newsletter, you'll find out about how all that works and if it's any good to you for when you play. So all those links will be at the bottom of it. If you want to get the follow on to the Martingale, the more in-depth one that I'm going to do now, once you come along to here or go to the newsletter sign up, it'll be in there. You'll be able to, no, in fact, you better come to this. You just come into this and it'll be down here. So that page that you click on for this, it'll be just down there for you to have a look at. Alright, we'll see you on the other side.